I have become my father. Yikes! Isn't that exactly what we are afraid we're going to say someday? And we spend so much of our lives trying to make sure it doesn't happen, right? Yet I freely admit right here in front of all you that in many ways I have become my father. That realization became very kind of clear to me back in 2010 when I was standing on the balcony of this very hotel looking out over the bay, and I could see not just one like we saw last night or two, but 3 giant aircraft carriers tied up across the way. Now you have to understand that ever since I was a little boy, I've had this fascination for military ships and planes. Right, I was so excited. So when I saw it, I'll admit I was giddy, right? No question about it, I was giddy. I was so excited, I had to tell someone. So I called my father and I said, Dad, you're not gonna believe this, but I'm here in San Diego, I'm looking out over the bay and I see 3 active duty aircraft carriers tied up. And if I look over to my right, I see a decommissioned aircraft carrier, the USS Midway. I can see 4 aircraft carriers from where I'm standing right now. His response? San Diego, aircraft carrier, Yeah, I sailed on an aircraft carrier. I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to scream, what? I've been listening to your boring war stories for 50 years? You know my love of ships and you just casually today happen to mention that you sailed on an aircraft carrier? But what I probably said was, really? Tell me about it. Meet my father, Lieutenant Manly Donald Youngberg. You try living up in the shadow of that name. I always felt small. He was a big man, too. My father was in the US Navy. He, like many Americans, and many of my friends' fathers, joined the military shortly after the 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor. But whereas my friends had their father's war souvenirs to show off and retold their fabulous adventures in places like Japan, in Germany and France and the Philippines, I had nothing. My father didn't have any war souvenirs, and frankly, I thought all of his war stories were boring, and he had been in the United States the entire time. My father was a teacher during the war. He was an electrical and mechanical engineer by trade, and with his top secret clearance, he trained people and taught people how to install and maintain a newfangled technology, a war-changing technology called radar. Pretty cool. Eventually, he was posted to Pearl Harbor in Hawaii to help prepare for the inevitable invasion of Japan. And that's where he was when the war ended. So my father, along with millions and millions of soldiers and sailors all over the world, were sent back to the United States as a part of Operation Magic Carpet. I'm not kidding you, that was the name. Operation Magic Carpet, aboard troop transport ships, and my father's ship was a converted aircraft carrier. So that was his sailing on an aircraft carrier after the war was over and after it had been converted into a giant, overcrowded, smelling, floating coach bus, right? That's what it was. But it was still an aircraft carrier. So I said, tell me about it. And he did. And this story, like all of his stories, quickly turned from a story about ships and planes and weapons and electronics to a story about people. He told me about the people he sailed back with here to San Diego. The people he mentored, the people he counseled, the people he tried to keep out of trouble as they struggled with their transition from wartime to peacetime. All of his war stories were about people, the people he helped and the people who helped him. Like the story of the Navy captain and the Army colonel who granted him extra leave and found him a berth on a train so he could actually go and visit my mother who was sick with tuberculosis. All of his stories, all of his war stories, all of his stories were about people. I learned many lessons from my father's stories. I learned people need help, and people can and will give help. I learned that organizations, institutions, all of these things, no matter how big or how small, a municipality, a manufacturing company, the entire US Navy, organizations are made up of people who need help and can and will give help. I also learned that a small act can have a great impact. These lessons have served me well in my life, especially here in the Tessitura Network. The network is all about people helping each other and making an impact. It's what we have an opportunity to do every day. And within the network, this helping is happening all year round in some very interesting ways. Many of you know Michael Flaherty Wilcox. Michael is an implementation and training consultant with the Tessitura Network. About a year ago, maybe a little less, Michael was talking to his father and happened to mention that TLCC 2017 was going to be here in San Diego and that we were going to have an event on an aircraft carrier, the USS Midway. Well, Michael's father asked him if he had ever heard of another aircraft carrier, the USS Intrepid. Well, of course Michael did. The USS Intrepid is one of our Tessitura Network members. Where are you guys? Are you out here somewhere? Come on, shout out. There we go. There's Anthony. Woo! Well, it turns out that Michael's grandfather, Paul Wilcox, served aboard the Intrepid during World War II as a part of the Navy Air Corps. So a colleague of Michael's knew about the archival troves on the Intrepid and encouraged him to reach out. And so Michael contacted Matt Constantina, who manages the former crew member relations on the Intrepid. Well, Matt kind of looked around a little bit and found and sent Michael this photo. Pretty cool. On the back it reads, Wilcox, taken in Tokyo, December 1, 1945. When Michael opened this email, he realized he was seeing something his family had never seen before. He said it gave him the chills. You see, Matt gave Michael's family a piece of their history they didn't know existed. Small act, big impact. Pretty cool. We all have these small moments every day where someone asks us for assistance. They don't ask our buildings or our organizations, they actually ask us as people, because organizations are made up of people. It's individuals like Matt, like you, like me, who can make an impact on another individual, a family, an organization, or an entire community. It's the simple reply to a forum post that took you 2 minutes to write that now saves a dozen people 20 minutes a day. Impact. It's the person you sat next to at a Tessitura user group meeting who gave you a lead on a new hire or a local vendor. Impact. It's the effort one person put in 2013 to create a mini magic display that Chuck Reif happened to see and then incorporated that magic into the next release of the software. Impact our entire community. I've been watching you all this week, especially you guys right here. And I have personally witnessed dozens and dozens of instances of people asking for and getting help. Over the course of this week, people have probably been helped thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Just think of the impact that this week has had on the organizations in this room. As you head home tomorrow, you might remember the aircraft carrier, but I'm guessing you're going to be more like my dad. And remember and talk about the people. The people who took a moment to help you and perhaps transform the way you work. Helping one another is what transforms us. And it transforms our organizations, which are made up of people. Thank you for paying attention. I really appreciate it. I know that the impact that you're going to have on people is not going to stop here at the end of TLCC in another half hour. We all now have an opportunity. We have a duty really now to bring back what we've learned. We are the people who will make an impact that furthers our organization's missions. And I bet if you look at those missions carefully, you're going to see that they are centered around impacting people. Just listen to me. I've become my father. Thanks.